ladies and gentlemen, to Kaiju Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a North Korean film from 1985. That movie is Pulgasari. And unfortunately, I really don't know a lot of details about this film outside of the fact that it is a film made in North Korea, and the name of the creature is Pulgasari, or possibly Bilgasari, depending on the translation. And said creature may or may not be some kind of a Korean folk tale or mythological creature. I'm not really certain. There's probably some history behind the creature. What I do know a little bit about, though, is the history of this film's director. You see, as I stated, this is a film from North Korea, which hopefully all of you know is a dictator-run shithole of a country. And one of those dictators was a goofy lunatic midget by the name of Kim Jong-il, who was a huge fan of films and was a particularly large fan of Shin Sang-uk, so much so that he had North Korean intelligence kidnap Shin and his wife, Choi Eun-hee, I hope I'm pronouncing these names right, brought them to North Korea and essentially forced them to make movies at gunpoint. It wasn't until years later that Shin and his wife, while going to a film festival for a film they made, again, probably at gunpoint, that they were able to evade their captors and get to the U.S. Embassy in Vienna, Austria, where they were immediately given asylum and freedom from their horrible captors in, as I have stated before, a dictator-run shithole of a country. I have no idea if this movie is any fucking good. I'm kind of hoping so, because it's about 94 minutes, and it's going to really suck if it's a shitty 94 minutes. I can tell you that the reasons why it was made and the reasons why Shin and his wife were forced to work on it is nothing short of disgusting. But I'm going to hopefully keep that from stopping me from at least trying to enjoy this movie if there's actually anything good in it. Again, I have no clue if this movie is any good at all. The only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Pulgasari. Well, guys, I do have a little bit of bad news. At least so far in the opening few minutes of this film, it is ridiculously dull, so much so that I'm struggling to stay awake. I am hoping for the film to get better. I'm certainly hoping for the conflict to become, a little bit more interesting. I'm hoping for anything positive to happen here, but right now, guys, this movie is off to a painfully slow start, and really not getting into it. I think I know why this is so hard to get through, guys. It's because almost nobody in this cast can act. I understand this is my first exposure to a film from either of the fucking Koreas, but I can tell by sheer body language that these people don't know what the fuck they're doing in terms of acting. Which makes me think that perhaps maybe when he was kidnapping directors, perhaps maybe Kim Jong-il should maybe have kidnapped a couple of actors too. That might have helped that might have helped this shit immensely. I swear to God, guys, this movie is a damn near perfect storm of complete and utter failure. Holy hell. Okay, so far, guys, we have acting which sucks, a story which is boring as shit, fight scenes which are terribly choreographed, a sound mix which is so primitive it almost hurts, a soundtrack that is so fucking synth heavy, but isn't that good kind of cheesy 80s synth I like. Just, there's nothing good here, man. And the sooner that this turd is done, the happier I'll fucking be. Guys, just when I thought this movie couldn't possibly get any fucking stupider, this movie goes one step further, and it goes above and beyond in order to out-stupid itself. So the military's plan to stop Pulgasari is to perform this retarded-looking exorcism ritual in order to banish the spirit of the blacksmith who made Pulgasari. Never mind the fact that it's never explained how they fucking know the whole origin of this creature. But, you know, they just know because fuck you. And the worst part is, as stupid as this goddamn plan is, it looks as if it's fucking working. Which, out of all the ways you could kill a kaiju in one of these films, performing a goofy little song and fucking dance in order to exorcise the spirit, and then drop rocks on it, that's fucking retarded. I am talking clinical, full-blown, mentally retarded. God, this movie is fucking stupid as shit, man. It really fucking is. Well, guys, that was Pulgasari. Thankfully, the video just ends. Thank Christ. Now I can delete this goddamn thing off of my hard drive, but I'll do that in a minute. I've got to discuss this goddamn movie now. Holy shit. Okay. I'm going to start with writing. I mentioned way early on in this movie that it was off to kind of a slow start. I don't mind when movies are off to a slow start. The problem is, this movie didn't just have a slow start, it had a slow fucking everything. Its pace never picks up. I am talking during the battle scenes, during anything with any kind of action, anything which is trying to further, the plot, it all moves at an absolutely glacial pace. And it just makes the whole thing a tiresome bore to watch. I swear to God, guys, I must have fucking drowsed off like twice watching this thing. Both times only for about 30 seconds, but still, the very fact that this thing is so goddamn dull that I was struggling and failing to stay awake while watching it says quite a bit. Now, it might have helped if any of our characters were worth giving even the slightest shit about. Unfortunately, there isn't a single character in this film who is given any level of depth or interest to them. And that is everybody from our heroes, our villains, and our title monster. All of them are boring, dull, two-dimensional characters. Oh, fucking hell. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, if the subtitles are anything to go by, we rarely, if ever, hear characters referred to by name. We got a couple of name checks early on, as characters were calling each other by first name. And then suddenly, they stopped referring to each other by first name, and suddenly, everybody was calling each other by whatever the hell kind of fucking, familial connection they had. So all of a sudden, most of our characters weren't calling fucking Ami. They were, Ami, I barely remember, I believe that our main female's name was Ami. All of a sudden, everybody's calling her sister. Or correction, her brother refers to her exclusively as sister after the first 5 minutes. And they refer to their father as father exclusively. Well, that one there kind of makes sense. But of course, she happens to refer to the blacksmith as father. Her cousin refers to him as uncle. Everybody else refers to him as uncle. There's no fucking way he is the uncle to the entire farmer's army. But hey, apparently he fucking was. And there's no depth to these characters outside of they're farmers and they want to overthrow the king. And they're friends with Pulgasari. That's it for character depth. And as for the king and his army, they're evil. Because fuck you. That's, honest to God, the best that we get is they're evil because reasons. Speaking of fuck you because reasons, why don't we talk about the origin of our fucking creature? So basically the best way to sum it up is that Pulgasari is a golem. And instead of being a golem made out of clay and then given life, So Pulgasari was like molded by a dying blacksmith who was starving to death. It was like his daughter and his son were throwing fucking rice into his cell. Instead of eating the rice, he molds it into this little statue about this big, is able to get a shocking amount of detail in something that you molded out of a handful of filthy fucking rice. In fact, it looks more like clay by the time he's done molding it. And then he dies. And then his daughter gets the little fucking statue, and she's like knitting, or she's like sewing some clothing, and a needle pokes her finger, a giant geyser of blood fires out. There's no way in fuck a human being bleeds that much when they're stuck with a needle, I just want to say. And a single drop of blood lands on top of this Pulgasari golem, and suddenly it comes to life, and it's only about this big. And it grows by eating iron. Because, of course, it has to have a reason to grow, so it eats the only known natural resource the movie is willing to state is even in Korea. Yeah, literally, the big thing at the end is, and this is kind of a spoiler, so heads up. So once the farmer's army and Pulgasari kill the fucking king, and now they're able to live freely, Pulgasari now is basically forcing the farmers to give all of their weapons, all of their farm tools, all their everything, in order to feed his hunger, which is probably some kind of a propaganda message talking about the evils of fucking capitalism and consumer culture. Correction, it is either that or I'm thinking way too hard about this shitbag movie. But anyway, so Pulgasari's entire personality is, he has to eat iron because reasons. Now, I mentioned his origin earlier. Funny thing is, his fucking creation was seen by the other prisoners who watched the blacksmith mold him, and the only people who actually saw the drop of blood hit were the sister and the brother. Yet when the king is trying to figure out a way of taking care of Pulgasari, he has this little wormy shitbag advisor who rattles off the entire origin story. Who told him? I mean, there are a lot of these like logical problems, and there's no way in fuck he found out in either of the 30-second spots when I kind of nodded off. No, because nothing happened in those fucking scenes. It was people crying and screaming, because that's about 90% of this film is people crying or screaming or really poorly done fight scenes. You know what? I'm going to skip past writing, because I could probably sit here for days talking about all the plot holes and the fact that the plot goes pretty much nowhere. Let's talk about those fight scenes. Most of them are giant army against army battles, and it's very difficult to fuck those up, but they found a way. Part of it is because nobody knows how to act, nobody knows how to wield the weapons which they are forced to carry, and there apparently was no fucking direction outside of run into each other and just flail around the stick that we gave you. You know, that literally is all that is given. There is almost no attempt in this battle sequence there is almost no attempt by any member of either army to take the pointy ends of their spears, their daggers, their pitchforks, their whatever the fuck, and stab them into the enemy. Probably because that would have cost a little bit too much to actually put in, like, artificial blood or trick fucking or prop fucking knives and shit. So it literally is just all of them with their spears and their pitchforks and shit, running around just flailing them and bumping into each other like some kind of a retarded bullshit mosh fucking pit with pitchforks. It was poorly done, and I mentioned the acting. Guys, I really can't talk about the fight scenes any fucking more than it's just a bunch of bullshit flailing and bumping into each other. Why don't we jump over to acting? The acting here is a bag of shit. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, first of all, one thing I have to stress, and perhaps maybe it's just the fact that the quality of the video I got is a little bit poor, but it seems as if damn near nobody's mouth moves. I'm talking, you can see it move, like, slightly, but there's no way in hell that it's moving enough for them to actually project what they're saying unless everybody happens to be a motherfucking ventriloquist. This is especially noticeable anytime a villain has to laugh. This right here is the thing this right here is where you learn that nobody who plays our villains knows how to fucking act, because you need to make your laugh sound natural. And I am now about to reenact every laugh you hear from every villain, and of course every fucking laugh is from the villains, because the heroes are all too busy crying. So, here we go. Are you guys ready for the Oscar caliber acting that was in this movie? Note how my face barely moves. Note how fake that laugh sounded. That is how every laugh is done, and that is how much movement was in their face. It's literally just deadpan like this. It probably wouldn't... It probably would have been better. I'm just going to say right now, it would have been a lot better if they weren't all wearing incredibly fake mustaches and beards. Noticeably fake mustaches and beards. Like mustaches, beards, mutton chops, wigs, anything to just cover their face, and you can barely see any movement, because while their face moves, the shit that they got like glued onto their face doesn't, and it doesn't look natural in the slightest. But that honestly is more costuming than anything else. And costuming and makeup, and the costuming is fine, the makeup is complete shit, as stated, because everybody's got fake mustaches, beards, and wigs, and nothing moves naturally. Holy fuck. But yeah, just once more, acting is just a colossal bag of fucking ass. Nobody here either knows how to act, or nobody fucking tried. And that is noticeable in their body language, that is noticeable in, laughter, that is noticeable in just general movement. Nobody fucking tried. Now, it could be because, once more, the fucking director may very well have been making this thing whilst having a gun pointed at his fucking head. And I really don't think that you're going to get the best out of your fucking cast if your director is in that kind of a state. So, yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there, that there may be a reason why our cast sucks. A couple of them may also have been, may very well have been prisoners. I do not rightly know. So, props. Let's talk about props. Let's talk about all those fucking weapons. The weapons which the movie makes a great deal of effort attempting to tell you that they're all totally made out of fucking iron, even though they all look like they're clearly made of fucking plastic. And, of course, during those battle scenes when everybody's got their pitchforks and their spears and they're, like, flailing them around as they're bumping into each other, the whole thing. I am talking the pole and whatever fucking implement is on top, spearhead, pitchfork, whatever the fuck, the whole thing wobbles and wiggles as if it's not only made out of like plastic or rubber, but incredibly cheap plastic or rubber, which is fucking telling. It's like, I totally understand that you want safety in your cast members, but you couldn't have handed them metal weapons at any given time. It really would have helped your film out, Korea. It really would have. And I have to say that this is Korea's film, because the person who produced it is the same fucking demented midget who kidnapped the filmmaker. Yes, guys, just as a little bit of trivia, this film was produced by Kim Jong-il, and fuck him for wasting everybody's time and all of that money to make a movie this fucking terrible. Now, I'm going to jump to special effects, because you have to talk about special effects when you're talking about a kaiju film, because it's not a kaiju film unless you have your giant monster. Your giant monster is made up entirely of special effects, and the special effects in this movie are fucking awful. Surprise, surprise, just like everything else, the special effects are shit. Let's talk about Pulgasari's suit, his rubber suit. I know I've seen bad kaiju suits in the past, but you know what? By 1985, when this fucking thing came out, to see incredibly ugly, cheap, and shit kaiju costumes was thought to be a thing of the fucking past. Oh, how wrong I was. So, as Pulgasari slowly grows, he changes in form, but one thing always remains the same. There's a clear seam between the headpiece and the rest of the fucking body. You see, because Pulgasari's got this big, like, bull head, it's got these giant bull horns, and it's like a mix between like a bull and a lizard. And it's got these like scales that just sort of go around here, and it's a very clear seam where this whole area is just like the headpiece, and the rest of it's rubber, or just a simple rubber fucking suit, and it looks cheap as fuck. And of course, the rest of the suit also looks cheap and flimsy, which is why all the spikes on his shoulders and coming off his arms, all of them wobble and wiggle as he fucking moves, because, making that kind of shit out of hard plastic to keep it from wobbling and wiggling would have just probably been a little bit too much fucking effort for our filmmakers. Holy shit. Now, let's talk about, how you make your monster big. How exactly do you show that off? This film uses a 1970s method which is called rear projection, and they fuck it up constantly. Okay, first of all, what is rear projection? Those of you who might not know, it is when you have your actors in front of a screen. I'm not talking about a blue screen or a green screen. I'm talking about a film screen. And behind that screen is a camera shooting footage directly at it, and of course the footage bleeds through the screen so that way you can see it, and our actors are supposed to interact with it. Now, if you want to make Pulgasari look big, what you do is you make constant shots of his feet as he's walking with the soldiers, and they do that quite a few times. And then there's every other instance where it's the foreground is all soldiers walking forward, and on the screen is Pulgasari from about chest up, so that way it looks like our title monster is walking towards this colossal fuck-off fucking ridge, and the troops are just walking on without him. They did that shit at least 4 goddamn times, and every time the camera was either at chest height, neck height, or any other spot between, and it looked fucking awful. Top it off also, our sets, our little miniature buildings, which our title monster is supposed to just wreck up, look cheap and flimsy. And I'm not talking about cheap and flimsy by 1985 standards. These fucking sets would have looked cheap, shitty, and worthless by 1965 standards. Okay? So we have rear fucking projection, which would have looked bad in 1975. We have miniatures that would have looked like shit in 1965, and this movie was made in 1985. Something is fucking wrong here. Well, there's actually a lot of things wrong here, mainly everything. Our score is terrible. Our sound mix, fuck me dead, the sound mix. I'm going to take you back in time again. Martial arts films were known for, at least when they were dubbed and brought over to the U.S., they were known for having horrendous sound mixes. I'm not talking about vocals, I'm talking about Foley effects, where you would have, where you'd have weapons like clash, and it's this ultra fake sounding clang that doesn't sound natural with the fucking set and drowns out all other known sound. Normally, when they do that kind of Foley, they've got 3, 4, 5 different clanging sounds, so that way it at least can sound kind of natural as all these weapons are striking into each other. This movie has maybe 2 weapon clanging sounds, and they repeat them constantly. You will have a scene where they use one of those noises every time the weapons hit, and it sounds terrible. Oh, and of course you also then have the whoosh of a missed weapon shot. Again, normally you've got about 3 of those in order to vary your sound. They had 1, and it sounded like shit. Our soundtrack was fucking awful. Guys, everything about this movie was shit. Can I recommend Pulgasari? No, I cannot. And after taking this little foray into North Korean cinema, I am fucking sorry I wasted the goddamn time. Because this country apparently cannot produce anything of value because the country itself is shit, and their dictators are garbage, and their movies are some of the worst I have seen. This movie is hideous, and I know that you can watch it on YouTube, and I know you can watch it there for free. Do not waste your time. This movie is a fucking turd, and every single person who worked on it willingly should have been fucking shamed. This movie sucked fat, throbbing dick, and I cannot wait to get it off my fucking hard drive. Right now, guys, I am so furious after watching this. This movie sucked that goddamn much. I'm gonna go get a nice, stiff drink somewhere. I need to, and after watching this piece of liquid dog fucking shit, I think I've earned a goddamn drink. Anyway, my friends, that is gonna do it for this installment of Reaction and Review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.